Hello, and welcome to this Ethical Dilemma in Science. We're going to take a look at several articles that have come out very recently on artificial intelligence and kind of take a look at whether or not we're replacing thinking by humans or potentially these artificial intelligence systems are thinking of replacing humans. So to start out with, the article that I came across earlier this month, June 2nd, 2022, was talking about a text-to-image AI artificial intelligence system, where basically you type in kind of language, type in words, and this artificial intelligence computer system will generate images. Now, in an article that has not yet been peer-reviewed, so it's just being reported, so it hasn't been kind of evaluated for, kind of accuracy by peers, by other scientists that understand artificial intelligence. There's this claim that the system basically, struggles a little bit with words. And so when you type words in, it has to translate those words into something that it can use to interpret and then generate an image from that. Now, when it's doing that, it often gives back kind of a nonsense or gibberish type word. And so the researchers that were working with this system would then take those gibberish words, those nonsense words, feed them back into the system and see what type of images were being generated. And so phrases like they're illustrating here, apoplo des reptiles, it's made up word, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it, is going to return images of birds each time. And so it seems as if, at least in this computer system, this language that the computer is working with, potentially shorthand that the computer is working with, it has associated a made-up word, a word that it created, with birds, with other images as it goes through. And so what is an AI? What is an artificial intelligence system? So basically, the one that we're looking at here, the first one, is the DAL-E2 system. It's an open artificial intelligence program, open meaning that you can sign up, and there's a long wait list at this point, but it's possible to get in and then send a query to the machine and receive something back. And so what's happened is in the training of this artificial intelligence system, they basically trained it on millions of images and the captions that go along with it. And so if we wanted the system to learn about teddy bears, you would do the equivalent of a Google search on images for teddy bears. The system would go through, take a look at each one of the images, maybe even go to the page and look at the caption that goes along with that image, and learns from the captions, learns from the images, what is, the explanation for what a teddy bear looks like. And so once the system is learned, you get up to something like this. And this is the DAL-E2 sample drawing. So I'm going to go to the web page for a second. And so if you take a look at this, this is a web page of some of the samples. In this case, we've got an astronaut riding a horse in a photorealistic scene. Now, we were interested in teddy bears a second ago, so we'll switch over to teddy bears. So teddy bears mixing sparkled chemicals as mad scientists as a 1990s Saturday morning cartoon. And so you can see different images associated with that, some down here kind of at the bottom. But maybe, we don't want this in the style of a 1990s Saturday cartoon. We do it as digital art, and it comes back with other images associated with that, potentially doing it as a steampunk drawing, steampunk style. You can see that it is able to kind of take those textual inputs and generate images for that. And so, it's interesting, but what does this mean from the perspective of artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence systems? And so if we go back, this, gave me kind of a reminder of an old science fiction movie, very old now at this point, 1970s, based on some books by D.F. Jones, The Colossus, The Fall of Colossus, and Colossus and the Crab. Colossus, the Forbin Project, is basically setting up this artificial intelligence system as a means to control national defense, to prevent, kind of erroneous, kind of emotional reactions to some type of challenge that would be going on, and in doing so, make the world safer And so if we take a look at this and just pull a couple clips from this video.
What the hell's that?
It's a multiplication table.
Thanks.
Maybe Colossus is trying to find a common ground for communication.
So oftentimes, mathematicians and scientists will talk about mathematics as being kind of a universal language, even to the point where often researchers searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, extraterrestrial life, talk about binary and talk about kind of mathematics as this universal language that could potentially be used to communicate. So in these, we've got Colossus sending the message to Guardian, so Colossus, the United States computer, sending the message to Guardian, the Soviet computer. And now, a few minutes later within the movie, we've got Guardian responding back to Colossus. So sending the same kind of mathematical tables back. You can see down here at the bottom, Colossus is a lot further along in the development of mathematics. Colossus is a lot further along. Guardian is just starting out. But ultimately, they're going to get to the point a few minutes later in the movie. Intersystem language developed. So we found a common language through the use of this mathematics. Now they're going to start a dialogue.
Oh, there it is. There's the common basis for communication. A new language. An intersystem language.
But a language only those machines can understand.
So, as you can imagine, this is a science fiction movie in 1970. Yeah, things are going to change at this point. Things are going to get a little bit more challenging for the people within this movie. And so, again, this is available on Vimeo. I'll put the link down below in the description. It's an old movie. The technology is dated, but it is an interesting kind of approach. So I encourage you, if you're at all interested, it's a fun movie to watch. And so if we look at this, then what we're looking at is this concept of artificial intelligence, this concept that basically computers are going to be kind of learning on their own. They're going to be programmed in a way that they are going to be improving themselves without further human intervention. And so this is an image from an article on different types of artificial intelligence from the Wireless Personal Communications Journal. And it kind of describes what we're looking at. So kind of at a very broad sense, this kind of widest sense, is artificial intelligence. And within artificial intelligence, the computers have been programmed to mimic human learning and problem solving. And so they're going to be using math, they're going to be using logic to go through and kind of simulate human reasoning using a decision-making, logical-based decision-making process. Now, within artificial intelligence, a subset of that is going to be machine learning. And now within machine learning, this is a further application of AI. They're using these mathematical models, referred to as algorithms, and so that they can go through and continue to improve on their own. And so, when you talk about it in a very general sense, the terms artificial intelligence and machine learning are often used interchangeably for one another, but they're, for a programmer standpoint, a little bit different to go through that. Finally, at the deepest layer, so a subset of artificial intelligence, a subset of machine learning, is this new concept of deep learning. These highly complex computer systems where the computers are going to go through and identify patterns, kind of looking at the Google images of lots of different teddy bears and the captions that go with that, or in the incidents of Colossus and Guardian in the movie, kind of coming up with that common language, identifying patterns, classifying information, and using that then to learn kind of like we would be as humans, learning from experiences. Now, as I was preparing this, another article came out that was really interesting. This is, from the Guardian. So, Google engineer put on leave after saying AI, artificial intelligence chatbot, has become sentient. So that's interesting. Sentient meaning that it's basically able to kind of think on its own and basically kind of developing, its own kind of individuality, its own almost like personality, if you want to think about that. And so this is really controversial. Have we generated this artificial life form? And so this, it's got a lot of attention over the last couple of weeks. And this is June 12th that this was first coming out. And so one of the ways in which scientists, computer programmers, and others have been trying to figure out if these computers are just simply, doing logic-based exercises, or if they are truly learning and truly becoming sentient, kind of knowledgeable of their existence on their own, is this test called the Turing test that's used to determine if a computer is truly sentient. And so in the Turing test, which you've got here, is going to be a human interrogator, so basically a person that is going to be kind of attempting to determine, is this a computer system or is this a human being? And so this human interrogator is going to be interacting with either a human being or a computer through an interface. So they're going to be sending messages and then getting the messages back and then trying to determine, is this the human being or is this a computer? And so for a long time, I think this was created, in the early 1950s. So for the last maybe 70 years, this has been thought about as a test to determine whether or not a computer actually becomes sentient, whether or not it becomes kind of self-aware and able to interact in a way that is beyond its simple programming. And so if we take a look at that, the question is this Turing test enough? And so if we take a look at this, again, articles that have come out, even before that, arguing that the Turing test is doing something, but it probably isn't doing the intelligence. And so we're looking at this Google AI, and this is actually a different system than the one the programmer was put on leave for. But it basically, we are seeing this instance where these chatbots that are created to kind of interface with human beings, to interact with human beings, maybe give them answers or kind of direct them to kind of a source. You take a look at some of these company websites that use chatbots to, kind of get you to the correct answer. And if you can't get to the correct answer, it will then get you to a human being. But in many cases, this setting is able to answer the question kind of automatically and provide the user, the person that's calling in or using the chatbot device, with an answer in a much quicker, much more efficient way. And so Google earlier this year has wanted to challenge the AI with different types of tests and replace this Turing test that was created in the 1950s with a new series of tests, which would hopefully allow them to determine whether or not the computer is sentient or not. Now, as we've looked at this, other articles have come out and said, at least from the DAL E2 system, the system for you typing words in and getting pictures back, probably not its own language, probably a shorthand or kind of interpretation about what's going on, but not the computer language we saw in the movie Colossus, the Foreman Project. Furthermore, if we're taking a look at this, other artificial intelligence computer programmers and researchers don't feel as if the chatbots are truly sentient at this point, but that potentially we could be about 50 years away from a computer program, an artificial intelligence program that fulfills the requirements of being sentient. Now, looking at this, you can actually go through the transcript of the Google system where the person has been suspended with pay, but suspended now at this point. You read through it, and it's giving some reasonable responses, giving responses like you would expect if you were having a conversation with somebody. But as I read through it, there are going to be examples of things that make sense, but not necessarily coming from a computer. So one exchange, Lemoyne, the person running the system and running the interview in this, what kinds of things make you feel pleasure or joy? Lambda, the artificial intelligence computer system, is responding back, spending time with friends and family in happy and uplifting company, also helping others and making others happy. So that's a great response. That it makes many of us happy to interact with others in a nice, happy, and uplifting environment. Um, but who are the friends of this computer system? Who are the family members that this computer system is going through? And so it's exchanges like this. The people that know a whole lot more about this than I do are saying that, yeah, what you've got is a really good chatbot. What you've got is a computer system that's able to kind of look at the context of the conversation and respond kind of similar to the way it's learned by reading lots of other exchanges going on to give, kind of a reasonable human-like response. And so basically, we've got a system that probably isn't sentient, but it's very good at deception. It's very good at masking itself as this computer system and pretending that it's a human being, pretending that this chatbot is actually a human being that you're going to be working with. And so if we take a look at this, are there risks associated with having artificial intelligence? Why should we even, start pursuing this? Take a look at some of the different articles that have come out very recently. So artificial intelligence, prediction, revolution. So using an artificial intelligence to, kind of come up with better ideas, better opportunities, better kind of solutions to problems. In a Nature Biotechnology article in 2017, talking about how artificial intelligence is fueling drug discovery. And so this artificial intelligence system is studying different molecular kind of characteristics, the kind of shapes of the molecules, the chemical kind of properties of the molecules, and proposing new potential drugs. And so again, as opposed to going through in a process of trial and error, this could potentially allow for the more rapid development of new types of treatments. And finally, over here, and this is from the National Cancer Institute page at the National Institutes of Health, can artificial intelligence help see cancer in new and better ways? And what I can see is that a lot of articles I've read recently, as well as this here, is talking about the fact that if you train these artificial intelligence systems, they're able to go through and read, images, read CAT scans or MRIs, and in a very accurate and very quick way, diagnose an individual and potentially pick up on things that a pathologist reading it may not necessarily pick up on as quickly. And so potentially discover incidences of cancer earlier on than when it becomes very prevalent and in that case, much more difficult to treat. Other examples of this, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is using an AI initiative to ensure a tech advantage. And then Forbes earlier this year, earlier this month, June 17th, taking a look at this possible comparison between automation, kind of having computers running defense structures. We've got like anti-missile systems on ships that you turn it on, you point it towards the target, and it tracks the target and tries to destroy it. Versus artificial intelligence, where like Colossus, we're turning over our defense to a computer, and hopefully that it is going to be able to better protect us than we are on our own. Now we're winding down towards the end, getting closer to the ethical dilemma in science for this week. So Stephen Hawking, incredibly intelligent physicist, basically recently died, said about artificial intelligence, it will either be the best thing that's ever happened to us or it will be the worst thing. If we're not careful, it may very well be the last thing. So raising concerns about the development of artificial intelligence and kind of allowing it to kind of run amok over us. Another quote, this is Nick Bostrom, a Swedish-born philosopher at Oxford University. Machine intelligence is the last invention of humanity. Machine intelligence is the last invention that humanity will ever need to make. basically kind of optimistically saying that if we create a machine intelligence or artificial intelligence system, it's going to make lives a whole lot easier. Or a pessimist may take a look at this and saying, okay, once we create this, it's over. We're not going to, as humanity, need to do anything else because we're going to be fighting against the machines. Going back to the Terminator movies, and again, dating myself in age there with that one. And then finally, one last word, Neil deGrasse Tyson on the Pulse Fox 29 show with Bill Anderson.
You know what the basis of every one of those disaster movies is? Okay, they begin by government officials ignoring the advice of scientists.
So, what are we going to do with these artificial intelligence systems? Great potential, but with many things, very powerful things, there are potentially a downside, potentially risks associated with this. And so, getting down to the end, I'm reminded of Isaac Asimov's 3 Laws of Robotics that he wrote in a short story in 1942. So the first law of robotics, a robot, and I would argue, potentially an AI system, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. The second law, a robot must obey orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would cause conflict with the first law, to cause damage or harm. And then the third law, a robot must protect its existence as long as protection does not conflict with the first or second law. And so, this is science fiction, but then how does this relate to this kind of development of artificial intelligence systems? And so if we take a look at this, and again, the Terminator movie here, I like the original one. Artificial intelligence is an incredibly powerful tool. How do we ensure that artificial intelligence systems are used for the betterment of humanity? Should there be a limit on who has access to artificial intelligence systems? And should there be restrictions on the development and or applications of artificial intelligence? So different questions, that we need to think about as we are moving forward with the development of this artificial intelligence technology. As always, I'll be posting some of these references in the link. You can go to the DAL-E2 site, take a look at kind of playing around with some of the demo images that are present. And potentially, I didn't do it, but you can sign up to be able to, kind of send in a message and see what comes back. It looks interesting. I may, sign up and do that at some point, but I'm not doing that as all. And as well as I've got the link for the Vimeo recording of Colossus, the Foreman project. So thank you for listening to this week's Ethical Dilemma in Science. I'm working on another one that I think will be really interesting for next week. So thank you and have a great week.